Anybody recognize that picture? So that was for our trip in South Africa, by the way. So, Genesis 1:28. Hopefully you can read that. God blessed them. This is, stewardship. Bless them, rule over the fish of the sea, birds of the sky, and over every living creature. Subdue and rule. What's our mandate there, right? That's what God's saying, do. You need to subdue and rule. What exactly does that mean? To do that, to subdue, to rule over, you have to have some kind of understanding, right? Okay, next slide. So now let's go on to the second chapter. This is a kind of a rehash of some of the stuff we've done in Sunday school, which I'll make a pitch for Sunday school. We're going through Genesis. But it's important to set the groundwork. Again, this is my thinking. I'm walking through my belief system. Again, I stand in the science world and I stand in God's world. So God calls them and brings them up to Adam. It says, name them. So can you name something without knowing deeply about it? That's the question, right? I don't know, but I think probably you need to know something. What was the last thing Adam named? A woman. And how did he know? He knew about where she came from. So to me, if you're going to have dominion and you're going to have stewardship and you're going to rule over and name, you might need to know something about them. The question is, did Adam have something we don't? Right? Some important things happened after this directive. Okay, next slide. Well, what happened in the fall? Creation was cursed, right? Not just Adam and not just Eve, but the actual creation. So what does that mean to us, right? Okay, next one, Jason. Fortunately, we know things don't go well throughout creation from that time forward. It says in Romans in a little bit more detail about that. So it was a perfect creation. Adam was able to name stuff, so he had some kind of understanding. But now it's broken and cursed. What does that mean to creation and to us? Okay, next slide. So, fortunately, I'm not the only one to ever think about this. And there's a little dig about the historians and academics in this slide. So, I mean, that's not actually really true. I can get drugged down any rabbit hole that I've ever been. I'm just a curious person by nature, so I would actually dig in on this if somebody wanted to discuss it. But a lot of people thought about this going back, all the way back through the early church. And some of the biggest names you have ever heard of, Thomas Aquinas, all through the Enlightenment, modern secularism, all these kinds of folks have struggled with this question of, what should we do with God's creation based on the early mandates, then the fall and the curses, and where we're at now, right? So next slide. So since the fall, Adam got kicked out of the garden. He was separated with his relationship from God. So if he did have some kind of knowledge, extra knowledge that we don't have about creation, it must have been lost because it has not been passed down that I'm aware of. Maybe it made it all the way to the flood and Noah didn't get it. I don't know. Right? I'm not theologically that knowledgeable to be able to answer that question. But I do know it's not here now, right? So what to do? Well, it all boils down, after reading some pretty boring books Jamie and I had to go through, to that little paragraph there at the very end. That was the name of the book, The Fall of Man, The Foundation of Science. Yes, essentially is what they said, because you can do good by learning about God's creation and doing well. However, can you think of a very specific, visible exception to this? The Amish people don't do this, right? They live pretty good lives. The only thing they do study is how to build barns and animals, right? Husbandry. So that's kind of a counterfactual. That actually, I still wrestle. I don't know what the answer there is. Maybe you can go both paths. Yes, sir.
Right. So I think there is a theological basis for that, and I think we studied it this past week in chapter 3. I'm not sure if all the classes got to it, but if you notice at the end of the chapter, after the poem of the curse that God gives, Adam again names his wife.
Mm-hmm.
So initially he named her woman, and then after hearing the curse, which also cursed the serpent, he named her Eve, which meant the mother all living, based on the promise of the coming seed. So he did still have that naming function. So I think that there is an aspect where we still have that mandate,
Mm-hmm.
it's just in a broken state. But we do still have it in some measure.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of what I feel, right? Without having the actual basis, but that makes anybody else got a feeling on yeah.
Well, what I had to come to mind was that isn't there a verse about we can see God in His handiwork?
Yes.
And so when I saw that new picture by James Webb, see, I saw it as like fabric that you could work with, or you could design a photograph or a picture or painting like that. So to me, I would say it's okay, and he wants us.
Yeah, and another good example of it, right? And there's been a lot of good has come from it, like you said. And it's like any tool man has, it can be used for good or evil, right? Yeah.
I'm not sure it's the same thing as exploring creation, but for example, during the building of the Ark and the Temple, the Lord basically inspired skilled workmen, and then you can talk about Solomon and his wisdom, and then you can talk about the general wisdom that, is it Jesus who's saying, you can tell the seasons, you can know, red skies in morning, sailors take warning, but you can't, it's an admonition, but you can't recognize the sign of the times. The point being is that people could tell seasons, people could tell all kinds of things in nature that they use to help them with husbandry or farming or whatever the case might be.
Yeah. Yeah, so think about it. I think that's a legitimate question, because they do live a pretty good life, but is it because of other things, right? And I actually do agree very much with what you were saying, Drew, that there's something there. But so in my mind, at least currently, I'm comfortable going, okay, yeah, we should continue to do these kinds of things, right? And I'll get back to your
Seeing God in it.
seeing God. I think I have that. Jason, what's the next up here? Yeah. All that's well and good. It should be done. That's not why I like it. Actually. I just enjoy it. Because you can look out there, and my imagination is not, it's so humbling and freeing, and you just understand you can't even imagine a tiny fraction of what he's capable of. Either looking really big or really small. And what we see, we get kind of used to, and we don't appreciate how truly special it is, right? But occasionally, you get something, and you go, whoa, there he is, right? There's the fingerprint. So I do get the awe factor, and I'm fortunate. I know I'm blessed. Everybody doesn't get to walk in and see a space telescope, right? And talk to a Nobel Prize physicist all the time. So I want to share some of that with you, and hopefully you will, through me, at least experience some different pieces of that. My background, I've got to see some pretty cool things, right? You were talking, Adam was talking about in that first Genesis lesson about the background radiation experiments that they found. I got to talk to that scientist, Nobel Prize winner, right? Fascinating man in his own right. In the military, I got to, a lot of it I can't tell you about, unfortunately. I signed documents. So,
The aliens, I knew it very close.
it's funny you mention that. That's kind of close, but not. But what I can say is I got to be close to the nuclear enterprise. I guess I'll put it that way. And what would I not get in trouble for? Yeah, yeah. So So I think I can say this much. I have seen many beautiful works of art that man has made. Rarely have I seen one as beautiful as a thermonuclear weapon. Think about that. And it's because of the exquisite craftsmanship and the simplicity of what it does down at an atomic level. It's fascinating. How they build them, what it's made of, the materials. So God is out there in all these things. Now, a thermonuclear weapon, why is it beautiful? That's a good question that I also wrestle with. Why is this a beautiful thing when it's capable of such bad, right? But I see it from literally the physics side of it. And in those weapons, they have a bomb, but they don't call the actual part that works a bomb. They call it the physics package. Hey, bring in the physics package, we're ready for it, right? And the physics that comes to make that thing work, it's just fascinating. It's truly fascinating. And we'll talk about it a little bit more in the stars, when we talk about the stars. Okay, any questions so far? All right, what's next, Jason? Yeah, so that's the bottom line. This is a cool picture, all right? This is actually a picture of an eclipse. It's real, it's not AI generated. The moon is exactly covering the disk of our star. And if you look around the edges, you can see a little bit of the edges, the prominences is what they call. And the stuff coming out is actually the solar wind, right? This is, and it looks flat, but it's actually three-dimensional, and it's coming from our star all the time, right? And we've experienced a lot of this recently, if you've been outside and watched in the night sky, right? And we'll talk about more of that in week 3, sorry. Okay, Jason. Oh, I have something for you to read. Yeah. So this is another point that, from a Christian perspective, I'll give you, if you can read it from there, I know you can't be able to. Just pass those out. So while those make their way around, did anybody know Dr. Richard Feynman? Ever heard the name? Yeah, so it's interesting. So, in his book here, The Pleasure of Finding Things Out, if you haven't ever read it, and you really want to read something about a truly brilliant science mind, read that one. It's not hard to read, but it gives you insight into how he grew up and how he thinks. This guy was incredible. So his early claim to fame was he worked on the Manhattan Project during World War II, right? So he was a nuclear physicist. Fascinating guy. So him and his wife, they always monitored communications going out during the war, right? They didn't want any secrets that could get out. from what they were doing with the atomic bomb. Well, he developed the code that he would put in the letters that he wrote his wife to be able to tell her how things were going. No, but they never broke it. They never found it. This was just in his letters, right? And he would go into the other scientist's office and be standing there talking to them and just kind of fiddling with their safes. He was cracking their safes just by feeling the tumblers as he would. And so he would get one number and he'd go back and he'd come back a day or two later and he'd be fiddling again and get the second number. So he would, and it's just fun for him, right? He's also the guy where you might have seen him before that figured out what happened to the shuttle, Columbia, that blew up. He did the demonstration with the O-ring and the ice water. He was the one that figured that out, what the problem was, right? Or he's on that committee. I don't know if it was specifically him, but he did the demonstration and told everybody what was happening. But anyway, back more to the point here. If you get a chance to just basically read through this, it's a beautiful story, and you hear it a lot. And from a science side, you know, I hear this too. Oh, you don't appreciate artists, really appreciate beauty. Let me get to it on mine so I can read it. And I have a friend, it's a famous story about a flower. I have a friend sometimes taking a view, which I do not agree with very well. He'll hold up a flower and say, look how beautiful it is, and I'll agree. Then he'll say, I, as an artist, can see how beautiful this is, but you, as a scientist, take this all apart and it becomes a dull thing. And I think that he's kind of nutty. First of all, the beauty that I see is available to, the beauty that he sees is available to other people to see in me too, I believe. I can appreciate the beauty of the flower. At the same time, I see much more about the flower than he sees. I could imagine the cells in there, the complicated actions inside, which also have a beauty. I mean, it's not just beauty at the dimensions at 1 centimeter. There's beauty at smaller dimensions, the inner structure, also the processes. The colors that the flower evolved in order to attract insects that pollinate it is interesting. It means that the insects can see the color. It adds a question. Does the aesthetic sense also exist in lower forms? Why is it aesthetic? All kinds of interesting questions which the science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of the flower. It only adds. It does not. I don't understand how it subtracts. I read this book when I was much younger, and that story always stuck with me. But it actually is missing the third layer, which you and I get to think is, this is God's creation. Look how wonderfully made it is. It's just atoms, but it's arranged in a special way. And it gives beauty to us. It provides nourishment to those insects. And we get to see 3 different ways that that flower is awesome. Right? So we're kind of blessed that way if you're a Christian, right? You get to see all 3. Question? Okay. Jason? Here's your things there. God is an amazing person, right? He makes beautiful things. Proverbs 1:7, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and structure. Proverbs 9:10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. And in Psalm 111, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. All who follow his precepts have good understanding. So I just want you all to know, when I go down and talk about these things we're going to talk about, I know the truth of it. God has given us the answer key, not the questions. Right? Believe the part is in the Bible as written. Science is a very, very limited thing. Our understanding of things is very, very limited. Sometimes they don't look like they support what's in the Bible. I'm okay with that. We're finite, he's not. So I just take the Bible at truth, at what it is. Science is a suggestion that answers some questions from some measurements we've made. We don't know why that is. We don't know why gravity works. It just does. We can measure it. I can tell you about it. I can do experiments with it. I can't tell you why it works the way it does. So remember this part, and you'll be wise, and you'll have understanding. A lot of the science peers, they don't. They just think they understand everything that's going on. Not so. Right? So I'll do a little thought experiment, a Feynman thought experiment with y'all. All right, let's think. Let's pretend. So let's pretend we are in the southwest corner of the Garden of Eden, right? And God comes to us and says, hey, I'm going to put this barrier up at the garden's edge here because my creation out there, it's dangerous for you. I don't want you out there. I have to go take care of some issues with Adam and Eve at the center of the garden. But I'm going to leave you here, and I'm going to put this barrier here for you. But just so you know that my creation is worshiping me and it brings glory to me, I'm going to leave this hole up here so that you can see. And he moves his hand, and through that hole you can see some light coming out. Right? Thank you, God. We can see your glory in creation here and on the other side that for some reason we can't be there. Right? And so he goes away. We look at the light coming out the hole, right? Somebody gets the idea, like, it's a little bit different than the light we see. I wonder how bright it really is. So we'll tell you what, let's take a white linen cloth and we'll put it up there, and we'll see how bright it is. And then we'll put some candles up there and see which one's brighter. And so we do that. Hey, we ain't got nothing else to do in the Garden of Eden. So we go, okay, it's about a candle and a half is about the brightness on it. All right, cool. Some of us are uncomfortable and you say, I don't know, man. God didn't say we should go up there and look at it, but we didn't do anything. We're in the garden. We just have to go up there. Time goes on. The guys doing the measurements go, hey, by the way, it's getting brighter. Everybody's like, what? Yeah, it definitely is. Watch, we'll put the thing up here. It's like 2 candles bright now. Whoa, what's going on? But praise God, he's on his work and he must be getting better. And so we watch, continue to do that. It gets brighter, and then it stops getting brighter. Like, ooh, well, we don't know what it is. Maybe he's done doing his work on the other side. Yeah, probably. We'll just continue on. After a while, it actually starts getting dimmer. And the measure people come back and tell us, hey, it's getting dimmer again. I'm like, no, it's not. God doesn't get dimmer. No, it's definitely getting dimmer. No, it's not. I can look at it. I'm telling you, it's getting dimmer. Time goes on, we could all see that it actually is getting dimmer. And now we're like, oh, okay, maybe we messed up by measuring. Maybe we shouldn't do that anymore. And God's mad at us. Let's not measure and see if the light comes back. It didn't. It doesn't. Matter of fact, over time, it goes out. No light at all. Now, some people are mad. Look, you were measuring it. God didn't say you could measure it. Now it's gone. The sneaky measurement people went up when nobody else was looking, put some cloth around it. It came back and said, oh, no, there actually is a little bit of light coming through there. It's not gone out completely. Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Well, let's just watch. So they watch. Lo and behold, one measurement people run back one time. Hey, the light is coming back from the hole. Oh, really? Yep, it's coming back, sure enough. You can't tell right now, but we put a little thing up there and it's definitely coming back. Time goes by, it definitely comes back and we see it, right? And it, just like it did before, it got brighter and brighter and brighter, got bright and stopped. And then went out again. And this cycle repeated itself. And then one day, they were up there measuring very tightly, and the actual measurement thing moved. Well, what was that? I don't know. We thought we heard something, and it moved. And so they watched it, and it did. You could see the little film moving, coming throughout the hole, The light was there just like it always had been, right? Just as the light got to peak, it all stopped. The light was there, but there was no more movement. Nothing was coming out of the hole. It went through its normal cycle. One cycle, it got bright like it was supposed, like every time it had dim, and then it got dim again before it was supposed to get dim. But then it got light again. And then the measurement peoples came and said, you're not going to believe this, but the light parts are getting longer. It only was a certain length to start with. Now we timed it out. It's definitely 2 minutes longer. 10 cycles, and it's 2 minutes longer. What is that? I don't know. I just measure. I don't know anything. So they were up there one day, and then the movement came back. I'm like, it's came back. Yeah. Definitely come out. Everybody's watching. Just as the light peaked, the movement went out again. I don't know what that is. They started plotting. Days are definitely getting longer. We see the movement and think we hear something every 7 cycles. Oh, well, God light 7, so it must be him on the other side, right? What did I just explain to you? So I'm pretending I put a small hole in the outside wall of this church. And what we see is day and night. We didn't know it. And we saw the church service when Eric was singing, and it ends it every day, right? But how are we to know that? God just said, my creation glorifies me, right? That's how I see science part. I don't understand all the things that are going on over there. And God didn't tell me to give me understanding. For whatever reason, he just lets us experiment with it. But what we can't do is assume too much, right? And don't keep them separate. If you don't, you end up like this Galileo thing, right? Where the church threw him in jail. Because their hubris was, well, we're the human race that God made. He would put us at the center of everything. Never did God say, I'm going to put you at the center of creation. The science said you're not, and that made sense to me. He didn't bring King David from the palace. He brought him out from the middle of nowhere, right? And he rarely brings things. So why would we assume that in God's creation, he would put us there and everything else around us for that? It's for him. It's for him, not us, right? And if he wants us to see it, then they see it. Again, I don't know if that's helpful for you, but that helps me because now I can hold these two things. I'm very humble on the science side. We don't know a lot. I know everything in the Bible, so I'm safe. If I'm here, I'm safe. Okay? Any questions on that? Does anybody understand kind of what I was trying to get out there? I hope. Okay, Jason? So those are my takeaways. Hopefully that's clear to everybody. That's the background of where I'm coming from. All right? Okay, Jason. So now we got to do some other stuff here and get ready. By the way, this is a picture, 2 pictures. The one on the right is the spaceship we sent to that comet. That's a comet. That's what one looks like. They don't all look like that. That one did. And we sent a lander, a little tiny lander, to go land on that comet, called the Philae lander. It was the European Space Agency built it in 2012 or 2014, I don't remember. The little thing went out there to it. And unfortunately for it, it had these little, there's essentially zero gravity, right? These things are very small. The gravity is minuscule. It's supposed to hit the asteroid and grab. Unfortunately, the grabbers didn't grab. So it hit, and it hit again, and it ended up kind of wedged up under the backside of one of those things. They got a picture of it. Should have put it in here, I guess. But it got a picture of the little lander, unfortunately. It lived for a little while, but out of the sun, it couldn't live forever. But that's what a comet looks like, and you can see the gas streaming off of it. What happens is when it gets close to the sun, you remember you saw the solar wind in that picture? It starts interacting with it, heats up the frozen carbon dioxide and water and stuff, and it scoots off. And then there's rocks and stuff, all that kind of a loose ball, right? Anyway, so we got to talk about some orders of magnitude. Humans are very not good at big numbers. We can count to 6 or 7 just by looking at a number of octets most of the time. If we put them in patterns, we're a little bit better. We're going to talk about some numbers that we don't process very often. And so I want to make just a few little demonstrations here of what that looks like. And I'm going to need some help. Okay? So, 1, right? That's 1, 0 orders of magnitude. The next biggest thing, 10, is 1 order of magnitude bigger than 1. It's not doubled. It's not tripled. It's an order of magnitude bigger. 1, 10, okay? Now, I need y'all to come up. I need 9 people to come stand up here with me. Come on up. Yeah, get the kids, come on. Come on up. Yeah.
What is a magnitude?
That's what I'm explaining. 1, when I say, because I'm going to say orders of magnitude bigger, and you need to understand what those are.
When the magician calls for a volunteer, you come.
Yeah, come on up. I need 9 people who are willing to come up. 1, 2, 3. Come on up. Stand up in a line. Yeah, sit right here, Drew. Is that how many have I got? 8. Eric, give me some. All right.
There's the
All right, everybody ready? Get your fingers ready. Limber them up. We're going to do some math, all right? All right. 1. We can all understand 1. 10. We can all understand 10. I'm not doubling. I'm not tripling. I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. 1 order of magnitude bigger than 1 is 10. Drew, give me your 1 and your 10.
10.
1, 10. Everybody hold them up. All the way down the line. Everybody had to go through the 1, 2, 3 to 10, right? This is what 100 fingers look like. This is 2 orders of magnitude bigger than 1. This is 10 and 100. Think about what 1,000 looks like. There would be 10 rows of us, and we'd each have to go through that 1, 2, 3 to 10, right? Think what 10,000 looks like. Each one of these 1,000, 10 times. We could probably fit, we couldn't do 1,000. Well, we couldn't do 10,000. We could do 1,000, right? So when you say, what's the order of magnitude of fingers you can fit in here? 10,000. Max. Right? Do you understand the difference between counting, doubling something, tripling something, orders of magnitude? Okay? Any questions about that? We're going to talk about some numbers you're not going to be able to get to. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for coming up. Woo! Yeah. So just get your homework over the week is to think about numbers that are not 10, right? It's even hard to think about hundreds of things. That was 100 fingers. If somebody asks you, well, what do I mean? Now you can kind of visualize it. So when we talk about 10,000 light years, what is 10,000 light years in it, right? These numbers are not intuitive. We think when we're getting bigger numbers, we think doubling and tripling. No, these are order of magnitude. Every time you put a 0 on the end of a number like that, you are significantly getting bigger. Okay? Frames of reference. So physics, personal playland. frames of reference. We are the special case. Let me say that up front, all right? It is normal for if I drop this, it falls and stops right there, right? And if I had a ball, I could roll it and it would eventually stop over there. Things come to stop, right? In our experience. We are the special case. It was Newton who figured out they don't come to a stop almost anywhere else, right? We live in this fluid, this soup we call an atmosphere, that provides friction to everything. We live on a planet that gives us gravity, so we have up, down, east, west, right? That does not happen much of anywhere else. It's relative. I can say it's relatively on the north side of the sun, relative to Earth. But that has zero meaning to anybody else. You can't go into the universe and go, here's where it started, and we're going to measure everything from there. You realize there is no, they say Big Bang like it's a starting point. There's no starting point. Think about that. You can't go to where the universe started. It all just, again, this is science theory. It all just expanded from nothing. Every galaxy, except for local conditions, is flying away from every other galaxy. And there's no way to measure where they came from. Let your brain cook on that. And and it is not expanding into anything. There is nothing. There's no up or down, there's no left or right, there's no into anything. We are the special case here because we live on a planet that has an atmosphere that protects us and allows these things to stop, right? Do you feel like you are traveling at 850 miles an hour? Because you are. You're traveling, the Earth is trying to flick you off like a booger, but you're stuck to it, and it's trying to fling you off at 850 miles an hour. At the equator, it's trying to flick you off at 1,000 miles an hour. At the pole, it's not trying to flick you off at all. It's happy there, right? At the equator, you weigh a little bit less than you do here. So if you want to lose weight, Eric, go down to the equator, you'll be a couple ounces less. The Earth is also 26 miles bigger at the equator than it is at the poles. These are our normal frames of references. Do you feel like you're traveling at 66,000 miles an hour? No, but you are. Your planet is traveling around the sun at 66,000 miles an hour. So it's trying to flick you off at 850, and the sun is pulling you around at 66,000 miles an hour. Do you feel like you're moving at 250,000 miles an hour? Actually, it's 650,000 miles an hour. The sun is traveling around the center of the galaxy that fast, dragging us planets along. Those are frames of references, right? If the Earth stops, if we could just stop it, we would be blown away by 850 mile an hour wind, right? Or if we stopped the wind, we would be dragged through it at 850 miles an hour. These are frames of references that matter when we start thinking about, for example, airplanes. Why do they work? They work because they float on the fluid we call an atmosphere. By the way, you know how much it weighs? How much the atmosphere weighs above you? Every person in here has air this much pressing on a square inch of their body. A square inch. 15 pounds. Actually, it's 14.8. Whatever. It's a lot. You can put that on. See how strong you are? You're beating the whole entire planet, right? But this is how much air is above you and is pushing on, well, hold it, that part of your hand. Do you feel like you have that much weight pressing on that part of your hand? No. And it's a property of the fluid. Actually, every part of your body, when it's all pressed at the same weight, you don't feel it. You're in stasis. Yeah. But if you put you in an iron lung and vacuum out the other side, it's going to be very uncomfortable for you. Right? This is why you don't sit near windows in airplanes. You don't want to, if your window blows out, you're going to have that much weight pushing you through the window. Right? So, just about out of time. I don't want to keep you guys late. But please think about those things, because next week we're going to go really, really big. All right, we're going to look at the universe. And we're going to talk about numbers that can't wrap your mind around easily. And we're going to see things that are going to just be amazing. All right? Does anybody have any questions for me before I go throw up somewhere from being so nervous?
You'll be lighter.
Yeah. Okay? Next week's going to be the really good one. So you don't want to miss next week. Yes, sir.
Johnny, I just wanted to say that when you talked about the theology a little bit earlier, and Drew had an excellent point, which I liked a lot, but also the book of Job, when God answers Job with all of his questions, he answers him by essentially saying, take a look at the universe. He talks about the Pleiades and Orion. So he talks about the stars. Then he talks about creation. Like, are you the one who's feeding the mountain goat kind of thing? And so he invites Job into this acknowledgement that there's just way too much out there that Job has no idea about. And the result is that Job comes to the point of awe.
Yes.
And that's exactly what you're talking about here. So theologically, you are 100% right on with regard to this.
And I'm there a lot, right? And that's one of the major things I want to get across. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Is just be in awe about the stuff around you, because it is fantastically amazing, and the probabilities of these things happening, it's a well-created universe that God made, and I think He enjoys us enjoying it. I certainly hope so, because I certainly enjoy it for the most part. And I feel like a kid in a candy store, just a child going, I'm like, what? So hopefully you'll get some of that next week. If you didn't get it this week, you'll definitely get it next week. And then at the sun, that's just amazing as well. Okay? Thanks, everybody. Please enjoy your evening.